Kelly Taylor Ryan, and welcome to Mainly Unspoken. Today our guest is Eugene, who's an instructor for the Constitutions. This is another show. He was with us again before, and he's going to be talking about complying with the law, and if you do, the law will protect you. Welcome back, Eugene.
Oh, thank you.
So you're telling us that if we comply with the law is going to protect us? Somehow I kind of don't believe that.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
100%.
How do you know
Double
that?
your money back.
How do you know that?
Well, remember I told you before that I got a little disillusioned with government? Well, I got out of business. I used to be in the corporate field. Went and bought my own store. Mm-hmm. Didn't do anything government wanted me to do. Didn't collect taxes, didn't take Social Security. I just didn't do anything. So the IRS came to me. With the result, the IRS agent said, I'm not talking to you anymore, sir, until I get a hold of an attorney. I said, sir, you get a hold of an attorney, I put you in jail.
How can you say that to him?
I didn't know. It just started out. But
You're just bluffing.
Bluffing to a certain degree, because I had picked up the state constitution of Massachusetts. So I knew what it was. And
so you know the basics of the law.
Right, and I'm saying he's violating it.
Right.
Okay, there's no doubt in my mind, because one of the things that really put a clincher on it is when, well, basically, real quickly, I asked him. I said, "Why are you here?" Mm-hmm. And he says, "Because you haven't filed any income taxes, blah blah blah." And I said, "Well, am I required to do so?" He said, "Oh yes." I said, "Now make sure we understand each other. If I don't do it, I either go to jail or pay a fine. Is that correct?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, give it to me the form." I turned it over. I said, "Oh, it says I have to sign it. Am I required to sign it after I fill it out?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Remember, I go to jail or pay a fine if I don't do that, right?" "Yep." I said, "If I sign it, do I relinquish any rights, privileges, or immunities?" His face got red. I said, "Answer my question, please." He says, "I don't have to." "You know what I mean? You don't have to?" "Excuse me?" I said, "You're taking your oath to the Constitution, haven't you?" "No."
He didn't.
"Not as an officer of IRS."
Oh, okay.
So I banged my head on the table and I put my finger right in his face and said, "By God, you will answer me." That's when he had to leave the store. And that's when he said he wouldn't talk to me until he got a hold of an attorney. I said, "If you get a hold of an attorney, I put you in jail." I said, "Not only that, but if I receive a phone call or a letter in the mail, I'm coming after you and putting you in jail." Stayed in the store for 3 years. Not one word.
He never bothered you after that. What was he afraid of?
The only thing I can say, because I'll shortly relay some other stories that has happened to me in the past to reemphasize and show you that if you comply with the law, that law will protect you. Guaranteed 100%. The times that I've gotten hurt, if you will, is because my knees were knocking when you're standing in front of a judge. Mm-hmm. And all you can do is wait to get the heck out of there. Mm. And so you start compromising. Mm. Okay?
So when you compromise, you lose.
Yes, I didn't have confidence in the law. State revenue came after me, not collecting sales tax. Same thing. 3 years
They said you
later,
had to, they wanted you to sign something?
No, they didn't want me to sign anything, but they said I had to collect a sales tax from my customers.
And you said you don't have to because you're not authorized?
No. Huh? Never refused to do anything. I don't refuse to do a thing.
Oh, okay.
Except violate the law or allow you to violate the law. Mm-hmm. But no, I will do everything and anything that you ask me to do that's reasonable and is not in violation of law. Don't get the idea that I'm preaching lawlessness. The truth is, you have lawlessness today in this country. It's the law of men. It isn't the law of the Constitution.
Would you explain to the people out there the difference between a democracy and a republic?
Democracy, your towns are a pure democracy. Uh-huh. That is the majority rules. Mm-hmm. And there's no question about it. I mean, you have no other recourse. In a republic, it's the law that rules, not men. Mm-hmm. That's why the documents say that you can pass, the legislature can pass any rule, regulation, ordinance, instructions, anything they so desire that they feel is best for the communities. But whatever they say or do cannot be repugnant or contrary to that document.
To the Constitution.
To the Constitution. Now, where the problem comes in is, what does the Constitution say? Is it what the judges say, or is it what the people say?
Well, the government will say it's what the judges say.
Well, but then what is the problem that I'm having there is that they're passing judgment on the people's law. Let me quickly put it this way. Let's supposing, and let's take General Motors. They have unions, don't they? Mm-hmm. Can you see the union accepting the following proposition? General Motors is going to hire 9 people. And if there's ever a dispute between the labor union and General Motors, it's going to go in front of those 9 people that General Motors has hired, and they're going to decide who's right or who's wrong. Would the union, and there's no recourse to their decision, do you think the union would sign that document?
No.
Of course not. But that's what the state is trying to convince you. Remember, when I say you, I'm speaking...
Right, in society.
Right. That's what they've convinced you to do. Only the judges know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. We've all heard that, right?
And we also get 25,000 laws a year.
Yeah, but remember, they're saying ignorance of the law is no
And
excuse.
what they're talking about is the state constitution or the federal constitution. The laws that our founders came up with to protect us from government. If you don't know how to protect yourself from government, then that's your fault. Is that kind of what?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly my stance.
But they don't teach you that in school.
Of course not.
They teach you to comply to the government, not use the
But it's
law.
even worse than that.
Okay.
They are teaching you to believe in people and not in the law.
Okay.
In other words, I can ask you if you have, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I venture to say there isn't one law that you are personally aware of. Not one.
One law that I'm personally aware of?
Yes.
I know that if you don't pay your property taxes in 18 months, the state of Maine, or no, the town will own your house.
But you never quoted me the law, though, did you?
Oh,
See what? Yes, you hear reality. And let's go back to the famous one, driver's license.
Yeah, okay.
Are you required to have a driver's license?
The state of Maine will tell me I am, yes.
Is there a law that says there is?
I forget what title it is, but yeah, it says that, that all people driving a car has to have a driver's license.
Let me give you...
I don't have the titles with me.
Well, I'm going to give you a little story about that.
Okay.
I used to have a little show like this, local cable TV, and of course the gendarmes didn't kind of like it, and we got stopped on the roads for driver's license. Okay, well, I'm the type, even if I had one, I'm not going to show it because of what I just read. You know, you don't ask me for my driver's license. So we go to court.
Because that's giving evidence against you.
Right.
And the state of Massachusetts states that
driving is not a privilege, even though they say it is. Okay.
Right.
Now, how do we prove that? All right, let me get back now. What I'm trying to instill in people that if you comply with the law, that law will protect you. Now, remember, I'm going into Article 12 in the Massachusetts Constitution about that giving evidence against oneself. So obviously, yes, you have to go to jail. But they found that I could not be intimidated by going to jail. In fact, one police officer says, "You don't mind going?" I said, "Oh, listen, I don't like jail. It's not a nice place. But I'm not going to let you intimidate me either." So we go to court, but we went to court about 4 or 5 times every time they lose.
This was because you wouldn't show your driver's license.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question yes. And the reason I kind of hesitated, that doesn't even cross my mind. In other words, whether I show it, whether I have it, whether I don't have it, is not in this. It's not in my subject. Okay. My subject is the state constitution. He violated that law.
The police officer violated the state constitution law by asking you to produce a identification.
Yes, right.
Why?
What do you mean, why? I don't know.
Why did he violate the law?
Well,
because you're not supposed to give evidence against yourself.
Can I be compelled to accuse or furnish evidence against myself? And if I have a driver's license, he has my name, address, and everything else, he can run all kinds of records, can't he?
Okay, so you're giving him the ability to find something that he could use against you.
Yes.
Okay. So,
without describing to me what the problem was.
okay. So they'll never describe their problems first. I mean, here in Maine, Maine police officers, I have been stopped like everybody else, you know, and I will ask, why did you stop me? And they'll basically are very rude and will tell me almost to shut up.
Right.
And they'll say, give me your driver's license and your registration. They'll go back, then they'll come back and they'll say, well, you were driving 5 miles or 10 miles over the speeding limit, or your light was out.
Sure.
But they won't tell me that until after I give them my driver's license.
Yeah, but I'm going to show...
And that's wrong, right?
Right.
They're in violation of the law.
Well, more important, but whose law are they violating? Your law.
Right.
And you don't respect it.
I don't respect it.
There you go.
Because I'm complying.
Yes, you don't want to go to jail, so you give in.
Okay, so are you recommending to people, and this is hard though, so you're recommending to people that if a police officer stops you, and they're stopping us more and more with Homeland Security and everything else, they're doing these road checks, you know, so that, are you telling people not to show their identification?
Oh, no, I am not saying that at all.
Okay.
This, what I'm doing, or now what I'm talking about, is it goes back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider that Constitution to be law?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes,
You
it is.
must be rooted there first.
Okay.
Now, if you...
But that's a fact. The state constitution is law.
But you don't believe
argue
it.
that? I believe that.
Well, okay, if you do, then you're on your first step.
Okay.
Okay, now you're going to have to be tested. Do you really believe that? And believe me, I know what I'm talking about from the standpoint my knees have knocked in front of judges many times. And
I believe it's law. I don't have faith that bureaucrats and government officials and police officers will uphold that law.
Oh, well, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Because where's my law coming from? My Creator.
Okay.
He had a design. He had his hand in the writing, especially of these 13 original.
Okay.
Okay? And if there's nothing in those documents that are repugnant to his law. And remember, when I talk about law, every man-made law cannot be repugnant to his law. It may be if that's what the people want, but they're going to suffer from it, though, aren't they?
The law, whether it's from the Creator, which came through our founders, was to preserve life and happiness.
You got it.
Right. And the government is supposed to preserve that too.
Right.
I know.
But they take and read that document and interpret it or put any meaning they want on it. But here's what happens.
To collect more money from us.
But here's what happens. First time I went, the result was the judge says, well, if you will sign a document saying that you won't take the police department to court, we'll just put it on file and forget about it.
Oh, really? They're making deals with you, huh?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, of course, my knees are knocking. Yeah, glad. Let's get out of here again. But every time I go in, I learn something, okay? So then they finally went through and they got me. I had a jury trial by jury.
For not showing your driver's license.
Right.
Like that.
Well, they said I didn't have a driver's license, and I had a bunch of other stuff, you know.
Okay.
So I talked to the jury. And I said, jury, now remember, you're here only to decide the facts. Now, I've asked the state, the prosecutor, to produce this law about driver's license. Now, you know and I know there's such a law. We all know it, right? Mm. But do we really? So I'm going to ask them to produce that law so that you can see it. Guess what?
They would
at the end of the, you know, when I summed up, you see, they refused to do it. Why?
I don't know.
If there is such a law, why wouldn't they give it to you, jury, so you can read it?
But I don't know what title it is. There is a title of motor vehicles and transportation and all that.
I understand you, but you will never find a law entered into evidence in a courtroom. The judge says the law is always in evidence. It isn't.
They won't let people read it? I mean, they won't take Title 14 or whatever it is
and present it as law to put it in front of the jury. No, they will not. There is no court that I'm aware of that has ever allowed the law to be entered as evidence. As a judge said, you will never put the law on trial in my courtroom.
He said that?
He said that. Oh, yes.
Oh, my goodness. Well, but they weren't putting, they just wanted to read it.
No, no. Remember, it's got to be put into evidence. Everything has to be put in evidence. So the evidence that a law exists or doesn't exist, isn't that fact?
Huh.
Isn't that what the jury? So what does the judge say after he's all through? Because I remind the jury. Now remember, when I stop, prosecutor's going to talk to you, and then the judge is going to instruct you on the law. What does that mean? What is that telling you, jury? You're dumb, you're idiots. I'm on this side of the bar, I'm expected to know all the law, right? You're sitting on that side, you can't be expected to know the law. It's got to be explained to you. Come on now, fellas. This is our book. This is our law. Do something. So they come back now guilty.
Oh, good for you.
So now here comes the big clincher. Of course, now I still get arrested again. Now I go back. It started out as a criminal charge. They changed it to civil, which means no trial by jury. That threw me.
Okay, so only in a criminal...
That's how they're reading Article 12.
That's how they're
That's
reading.
only good in Article 12.
Okay.
This is civil. So I said, okay.
This is in Maine state law.
No, well, no, this is in Massachusetts, but they're all going to remember. All these states operate the same.
Okay.
They have the same logic, same reasoning. So then I said, oh my, there goes my jury, and now I'm cooked. Then I get very calm. I'm waiting for something, and the judge says, "You're going to have an attorney?" I said, "No." "Oh, you're going to represent yourself?" I said, "No."
Oh, he must have got frustrated there.
Because remember, he knows me. Okay. Once again, face gets red. "Don't play word games with me."
Yeah.
I said, "I'm not. But I want you to explain to everybody in this courtroom how I can physically or spiritually represent myself. Sir, those are impossibilities. You're the one playing word games."
So what did he do?
Call the next case.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
He just wanted you out?
He just wanted me. Well, remember, he's not the one that's going to try me. In Massachusetts, they got it set up different. He just kind of clears, and so I have to go to a different courtroom. Okay. Oh yeah, he was through with me. I'm debating whether I even want to go to court or not. In the meantime, they call my name, so I go in. Police officer gets up, happened to be the police chief this time, because he stopped me on Sunday morning and said, "Mr. So-and-so, you're under arrest because you don't have a driver's license." Okay. So anyway, he gave his spiel. I don't remember, I did not get on the witness stand. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was obviously talking about the Constitution. It happened to be a woman judge. She said, "Sir, please don't lecture me." I said, "Geez, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that." So I apologized and I sat down. She said, "I find you responsible," banged the gavel, got up off the bench and walked out.
And that's
No
it.
fine, no penalty, no nothing.
Because all you were doing is talking about the Constitution.
I'm saying, the only thing I can come up with, now remember, my stance is comply with the law will protect you. That court that he put me in, I took myself out of the court when I responded to him, saying I can't physically or spiritually represent myself, which is the truth. Do you understand that? If that's the case, I'm in the wrong court. That court doesn't have jurisdiction over me. And as long as she did not fine me or penalize me in any shape, manner, or form, I would have no recourse, would I?
Now,
Explain
it
that.
doesn't have jurisdiction over you because you say you cannot represent yourself spiritually or
Right, I can't do it.
you can't do it. So why did that take the jurisdiction away?
Oh, very simple. You've heard of the term pro se?
Yes, pro se means you represent yourself, which you can't do.
Okay, I've looked in Latin dictionaries, I've looked all over. I cannot find that term pro se.
It's in black laws.
That's not a dictionary accepted by the public.
It's not a dictionary. It's specifically for lawyers.
I don't recognize it. Make it as a public record, okay. Okay, let me get back. Okay, the fact that I am they want you in as pro se because I've had judges say, when you enter my courtroom, you either walk in with an attorney or you walk in pro se. When you walk in pro se, you change your status from the inhabitant to legal entity.
Oh,
You
really?
change yourself from a lawful entity, the inhabitant, the caretaker of the land, the forefathers, what they fought and gave you, you said, that's not important to me anymore.
A judge says that to you?
Well, he's not saying these words. He just says, you will be pro se. If you're not pro se, you can't be heard. I will not listen to you. They do say that.
If you're not pro se, I won't listen to you.
And you're right.
So if you don't have an attorney and if you're not saying you're pro se, I can't hear you.
Right. But just as soon as you stay there, you admit that you're pro se. Because remember, when a judge asks a question, he will not budge until he gets an answer. You don't answer it, you get the answer, you're pro se, as long as you stay there. People don't understand this. You're changing your, and now they can do anything they want. Now you are in a military court, and they can do anything they want. Like I say, there's one judge said, as long as I've got the American flag and the state flag, I can put those flags up in a parking lot if I want to and hold court. To him, I said, BS. You cannot do so. You will hold court in a public place that we, the people, have provided for you. Now knock it off. These people say, you can't talk to a judge that way. I says, yes, I can.
Now, you say you're talking to a judge this way because you know inside and out the Massachusetts state constitution, and you know what your agreement was with the government on how they were supposed to treat you.
Yes, but I'd like to put it another way.
Okay.
I know if your foot is stomping on my toes.
Okay. And most people don't.
Okay. So don't BS me. You're stepping on my toe, ma'am. Please remove it. And all I do is put myself in the protection of that law. And this is why when people say it doesn't work, you're talking to somebody who lives it, and it has worked. Some people have tried to mimic in my words. Doesn't work. It has to be you. By the way, do you mind if I pull a little test on you?
Okay.
Come on, turn it. Would you mind pointing to yourself?
Pointing to myself right here.
Isn't that interesting?
Why?
That's you, isn't it? Represent that. You can't do it, can you? I had laughed. Some people do this. One person did this. They didn't know where. They didn't. See, it's my way of identifying people. If you can represent this, show me how, please. It's his creation. I can't represent it. I'm me. And you see what the courts have done?
But isn't representing yourself just another word for speaking for yourself?
That's not what the Constitution says.
Oh, really?
How can I speak? Speak for yourself. You can't do that either.
Well, maybe I classify myself as my thoughts and my feelings.
Okay.
And so my words are representing my thoughts and my feelings.
So why is it so important for the courts to demand and use the word pro se?
I have no idea. They like a lot of legal jargon.
So it has no meaning. Has absolutely no meaning whatsoever. Don't kid yourself. It has meaning.
It has.
They don't say anything or do anything that doesn't have deep meanings. So all I'm saying is they're changing your status, and you don't know about it. And you won't put your faith and trust in the law. I put it there. Now, does that mean that I'm not going to go to jail, or they may not cut off a finger? No, that doesn't mean that at all, does it?
No, you probably would go to jail often.
Well, I don't know that. See, I've stayed out of jail. Other people have tried using my words. You can't do it. You can't just bring that Constitution and say, here it is in the courtroom.
You have to really understand it and believe it and know it backwards and forwards. You just don't have to know the words. You have to understand what it's saying. You know, what's the meaning behind it? What are the principles behind it? What are the values behind it? These words represent this issue or this value.
So when the judge asks me, you're going to represent yourself, and I'm saying, show me how to do it. He can't do it, can he? Well, wait a minute. Why are you saying these words for?
Well, the law likes to confuse people, that's for sure.
Not true.
Oh, it doesn't?
The law never is confusing.
Okay, well, not the state constitution, but these statutes and policies that these bureaucrats and legislators put out, and what the judge and what the lawyers write out, they like to confuse you.
Is that law?
It may or may not be. It depends.
If it is law, you're going to have to prove it. I can always prove my law, can't I? There's the book.
Right.
Read it.
Right.
But And let's go back to the driver's license. Is there anybody who has ever read it? I have to take you back. I did lose my store eventually. My lease ran out. It was January 30th or 31st. The next day I was arrested because at that time I didn't have registration for my vehicle, I didn't have a inspection sticker, I had nothing, okay? But the town left me alone until...
Because you kept on talking about the state constitution. And you were going to all take them to court.
But I found out my enemy. See, I thought government was my enemy. It's not true. It's the people. Nobody liked me. So the landlord made me a tenant at will. Everybody in the shopping district hated my guts.
Why? Why did they hate you?
Because I found a loophole in the Constitution, according to them.
Oh.
So government couldn't touch me, but the people can.
And they were mad.
You're my enemy.
Wow.
If you don't stand up for that law, you're my enemy, aren't you? You have to be. You're not my friend. And this is what people are seeing. You want to find out why it's so difficult to get this across to people? It is that. It is spiritual, pure, plain, and simple. Because when I talk with people and when they get to know me, I'll ask them, when you first met me, what went through your mind? They were scared. They knew that whatever they said would be used against them. If they said that Constitution was law, they were afraid to do that. They were afraid to say it's not law. Because they knew it's a loaded question. And it is.
Well, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. As long as they're doing what government tells them to do, they don't have to think.
Right, they're safe.
Right.
They think.
And if you start talking this way, they really have to think through it. And they don't have all the information they need, and that makes them feel insecure.
Right. Or you lived your whole life a lie. I understand that.
Yeah.
I try to be as gentle as possible, but sometimes I'm sorry, I can't. But that's why I'm saying it's so simple to me. Tomorrow, every day before election time, stop these guys who are running for local office. Ask them these questions.
Ask them, have you read the state constitution?
No, well, yes. Or ask them if they accept it as their law, that they have to obey by. Okay? By the way, there's one other little thing I'd like to touch on.
You only have 2 minutes.
Oh boy. Do you see that thing about sales tax, that little card I gave you?
Yes.
Here's something else you can do if you want to take your country back.
Okay.
Let's say I go to Dunkin' Donuts, and let's say there's a high school student there, and they're collecting a sales tax from me. I ask them the question, do they have the authority to collect a sales tax? Do they?
I would believe that most people think so.
Show me the law. So when I've got a little card there saying, okay, you've collected a sales tax from me, you don't have the power or the authority to do so, so please, the next time if I decide to come back and visit you again, please show your ID that you have the power and the authority to take money out of my pocket and put in your company's pocket. Do you have the right and the authority and power to collect your establishment's taxes from me?
But they'll say, but the government says to do it.
Wait a minute. I have no problem with that. Remember, you said it, prove it. Until you do, stay out of my hair.
All right. We have about 45 seconds. What's the thing you want people to remember about this show?
Comply with the law and the law will protect you.
And understand what you mean by that. The law is the state constitution.
That's the closest man-made law, yes.
All right. Eugene, I hope you come back again. I think you have a lot more to talk about. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, again, if you really understand the state constitution, you're going to be able to speak more intelligently and defend yourself from having the government step on your toes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.